Second, I'm handing it off to whom?
Yeah, is it Stephanie?
To Stephanie.
And then
Okay.
Stephanie, yeah.
Well, good afternoon, good evening. To some who are at a distance, good morning, I suppose. My name is Paul Marca, and I'm Executive Director of SCPD and Associate Vice Provost in the Office of the Vice Provost for Teaching and Learning. And if somebody can say that 10 times really fast without tripping up, I have $1 for you in my wallet. I want to welcome you here. I know that many of you are in the world of work. You've already had a full day, and now you get a chance to come to visit Stanford University. So thank you. Round of applause for you who have made the effort. So thank you very much. My job this afternoon is to welcome you, to give you a sense of place, talk about Stanford University in brief, and then turn it over to my colleagues who can drill down on a number of different dimensions. We promise to keep this to about 45 minutes or less. Then we have some teaching assistants lined up and some experts to answer more detailed questions. So first of all, we have been honored at SCPD to be serving industry in the Silicon Valley since 1969. If I look around, before some of you were even born. And today, I've been privileged to be the executive director for the last 6 years now at SCPD. It's really our delight to continue the long tradition, bridging Stanford and industry. And our team is fully committed to making your job as easy as possible. We won't complete your homeworks, but we will try to advocate for you, try to make it easier for you. And one of the key, you have a couple of obligations as students. Does anybody know the first obligation? Really important. This week we play UCLA, and I know if there's some Cal grads out there, we got to root for the home team. We're hoping that we can bring home a victory. School opens on Monday, so we're hoping. Any UCLA grads here? Okay, sorry guys, I played baseball here at Stanford, so I got to kind of root for the home team. So first obligation, tick the box. A couple of other things really important. One is you're going to go through, for some of you that's first-time students with SCPD. So, but not first-time students ever. So you're going to have to get used to the sort of rhythm. The quarter here at Stanford runs very quickly. First 2 weeks you may have a midterm. The next 2 weeks you're in deep water. And one of the things that we encourage you is make sure to ask questions of your teaching assistants and of your faculty. And if you're not getting answers, we can be your advocates, our team here. So it's going to move really fast, so get ready for that. The second is watch the deadlines. There are a number of them. Really important to focus on those deadlines, right? Let's assume that you've cleared all the deadlines, you're in midstream. We will be sending out a couple of surveys. Feedback for us is an absolute gift, right? Constructive feedback especially appreciated, right? And so please give us that feedback. You'll hear from John Notman in the first couple of weeks, the how's it going question. Let us know. Jump on that email. Flag it. As we go through the end of the quarter, about week 9, we'll ask you, how was the experience and how can we get better? We're absolutely committed to reviewing every single one of those. I know that people say that, but I read them personally, as does John and Segev, our new lead for academic programs. Really, really important for us. You're not the first, nor will you be the last, but we do hope that you engage with us on a fairly regular basis. Really important for us. I'll give you some additional framing for Stanford University. I mentioned we're now part of the Office of the Vice Provost for Teaching and Learning. We have pretty great ambitions to extend and expand our graduate programs and credit-based offerings. So we need your help, and that feedback will be critical to that journey. We actually hope, don't tell anybody, I know this is not being recorded, right? We're going to actually try to hope to expand degrees. But what if we could double Stanford degrees by leveraging online and blended experiences? Some universities are doing that. We want to be in that mix. We want to actually start to lead this effort, if we can, here at Stanford. So we need your help. We need your feedback. One final thought that I'll leave you with is, as you go through your journey, for some of you, many new first-time courses, that feedback is really critical. Where we hope to be is, I don't know how many of you noticed the name of this building. So how many of you, anybody from NVIDIA? Okay, so a few of you probably know this story. A guy named Jensen Huang, a Taiwanese immigrant, went to Oregon State University, got a bachelor's degree, came down to the Silicon Valley, got a job, and was probably sitting in your chair once upon a time as a graduate student taking classes. At the time, it was called the Stanford Instructional Television Network, right? He then completed his degree, and armed with the insights from his degree here at Stanford, he started a small company, which is now NVIDIA. It's a great story. We hope that somewhere out there, one or two of you, maybe three of you, are willing to take that risk, to really make the effort and take the plunge. And don't forget, we're looking to have you give back, maybe not in the form of Jensen Huang in this building, but perhaps want to plant the seed, you never know. But we do want to try to stitch together a community of learners, right? You all will be taking classes. You have a chance to engage with faculty and students here, and also with each other. This is the way that it's not just you and the books, or you and the videos, or you and the material. It's you and a community of learners in your companies, as well as across the companies. As I said, we have a rich tradition here helping support the connection between Stanford and industry, and you're this next generation. And we look forward to serving you, to learning from you, and to hopefully see you be incredibly successful. So with that, I am going to turn it over to my colleague, Stephanie, who will walk you through a little bit more detail. For those of you new about Stanford, we'll do something there, and then we'll take you through and answer some very specific questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Hey, everyone. I'm Stephanie Rothbach, Associate Director of Academic Programs. This is one of the best days of the year for us, that we get to see you and meet you in person, and we're just so happy that you're here. Before we get started, I wanted to let you guys know that we have a Poll Everything poll that captures questions for everyone here, and also welcome to all the people on live stream. We're very excited to have you on as well. You can submit questions via the Poll Everything and upvote other questions that you think we should answer during the during the Q&A section. So make sure to check that out. You can use your phone, iPad, whatever device you have. So I want to make sure you guys were aware of that. So I actually first want to turn it over to Segev Zvati. He's our Director of Academic Programs, and he's going to take you through where we were, where the history of Stanford was, and where we are now.
Thank you, Stephanie. Hi, everyone. We're really glad to see you here today. For us, it's a culmination of a lot of work that the team has been working on, scheduling classes, making sure that everything is set up for you to come here to Stanford and to enjoy a truly, what we hope is a great learning experience for you. Oh, it's turned on.
Of course, Stanford, right? Here we go. Give it a sec.
Here we go. Thank you. The agenda for today, we'll talk about your support team. We'll introduce the teams that are here to support you so that you get to know who to ask, which questions to ask of whom and when. We'll share a little bit of the history of this institution. It's a fascinating story that we cannot do justice to in a few minutes here, but we can perhaps point you to some of the interesting places where you can learn more about yourself. We'll then talk about the nuts and bolts of SCPD. How can you be successful here? What do you need to do? What are your rights and responsibilities? And then we'll talk a little bit more about the community that we're building and how we can use your help for building the learning experience into more than what's happened just in the classroom. With that in mind, I'll start with introducing our student and client services team. John, Chrissy, and Jen are here tonight. John will be speaking a little bit later. These individuals are your first point of contact and your best friends in this journey. They are here to make sure that any question that you have is routed to the right person. They're here to make sure to represent you in your conversation with faculty, especially in cases where you need where you have difficult questions or challenging questions to have. They are the people who can provide guidance and advice to you. So please remember to contact them if you have any questions. There aren't any questions that shouldn't be asked of this team. The academic programs team, Stephanie, Cecilia, Frank, and myself, we are the conduit to the faculty. Our job is to make sure that that the faculty is given everything they need to make this a successful quarter for you. We are working with not only the professors but also the course advisor, the teaching assistants to make sure that you're supported. Your needs are different than those of the regular students who are residential students, right? The full-time students living on campus. You will be taking classes with them, and for you it's a great experience to get exposed to them. For them it's a wonderful opportunity to learn from you. You are working professionals, right? You're dealing with real-world challenges every day, and your ability to interact with them is something that will be beneficial to you and to them also. We are today in an auditorium that we call an SCPD room. This is in fact a TV studio. You can see there are cameras around here. There are 6 rooms like this where we have our classes. We're capturing the lectures, and the team that does this is our course and media production team. Lena and her team are probably going to process more than 2,000 hours of audio and video, and they will be posting everything online within 2 hours. From the time during which the lecture occurred here on campus. Then you have access to that information. This is your primary way to access course material, and we'll talk more about how do you use the system and how does it really work in a few moments. With that, we'll dive right into the fascinating story, the origin of Stanford University. This is a picture of the Stanford family, Leland, Jane, and their son Leland Jr. Leland Stanford came to California from New York. Started supplying the 49ers who were mining for gold, became a merchant, and then became a businessman, became a railroad tycoon. But throughout his life, there are connections to education that you see. The public library system in Sacramento, for example, was started by him. He was involved as governor of California with the creation of the normal school in San Jose, which became San Jose State University. When Leland Jr. died, age 15, their only son, of typhoid fever in Italy, Jane and Leland decided to dedicate their life and to take their wealth and to dedicate it to the children of California. And that's how Stanford University came into being. You can learn more about it by looking up Stanford Facts on Google. You'll find a fascinating document about the founding of the university. The more you read about the history of the university, the more you'll see the parallels between Stanford University and the startup companies that we're very familiar today. A university that started with a very untraditional approach. One of the first private schools were also co-educational, non-denominational, with equal emphasis not only on culture but also on practical applications. And that theme of innovation is woven in this campus and in this state and in this area in Silicon Valley from the very beginning. So we urge you to take some time and get familiar with the story, with your university, the campus here, with everything that's in it. Really interesting place. Since those early days when the university was struggling for existence, it has grown to comprise of 7 schools: business, earth, energy, and environmental sciences, education, engineering, humanities and sciences, law and medicine. 7,000 undergraduates, 9,000 graduates, 2,000 plus faculty members, lots of research, truly one of the premier institutions of higher learning in the world. The School of Engineering is actually the largest school among the 7 schools in the number of graduates that are produced every year. It's comprised of 11 departments. The computer science, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering department are all ranked number 1. Most departments are ranked in the top 5 in the country. What does it mean to you? the faculty that you will meet, the faculty that I've had the privilege of meeting, are extremely interesting, fascinating individuals. There's a lot that they can teach you, and you can learn from them. So please use this wonderful opportunity that you have to the fullest in interacting with faculty, in interacting with your colleagues or your students and the teaching teams. SCPD, as Paul mentioned earlier, in fact was born in the School of Engineering as one of these innovative experiments. We started offering distance learning in '69, as it's mentioned here, and over the years, the way by which these classes was offered evolved from TV to what we have today, which is online. We're offering certificate programs, professional education programs, courses that you or your colleagues might be interested in taking. Our team is also responsible for custom programs that can be done on campus right here or in your workplace. So in case any of you are interested in learning more about it, you can learn about it by visiting our website, scpd.stanford.edu. The connection to industry and to companies, especially here in Silicon Valley, but also around the world, is significant. Throughout our experience, we've enrolled students from more than 200 companies. You see some of these logos on the screen. Many, many more are represented in our student body. One of the projects that we'll be working on this year with your help, hopefully, is in helping you getting to know your colleagues at work, right? People who are taking classes here with SCPD that you can connect with. The online learning experience sometimes is challenging, and finding a colleague or a friend with whom you can share experiences, talk about the experience can be really helpful and supportive as you go through this process. We will talk more about the community program in a few moments. As Paul mentioned, SCPD recently joined the Office of the Vice Provost for Teaching and Learning. What's interesting about this is that it will give our team access to more resources that will allow us to provide a richer, more complete learning experience. So within the Office of the Vice Provost for Teaching and Learning, there are teams dedicated for instructional design, for teaching support, and we'll bring all these resources together with our colleagues to make sure that we're giving you all the support that you need as you enroll in these classes. Our social channels are in the process of being revived, and we're going to encourage you over the coming months to check them out, to contribute to the conversations, and to use these as resource as you go, as you participate, as you get involved in the community here. And with that, I'll hand it over to Stephanie to tell us a bit more about the nuts and bolts.
Nuts and bolts sounds so exciting, but John and I will tag team on this and make it as fun and informative as we possibly can for you guys. So let's start first with the graduate portfolio and who our students are. So many of you here are probably non-degree option students, and you're taking individual online graduate courses for credit. What's really exciting is you can transfer up to 18 units of the courses that you take on campus towards a master's degree. So right now you may be like, whoa, this is my first class, hold on. But I want you to dream big, and if it's a goal of yours to do a master's degree, think about that and how that can be transferred over. And we're happy to talk that through with you guys. In addition, we have our graduate certificate programs. So these are focused curriculum of online study in a specific area, and there's usually about 3 to 5 graduate courses in each certificate. We have really popular certificates like artificial intelligence right now. I bet many of you out there in the crowd are potentially interested in that. I know I saw a lot of CS 221, 229, CS 157s, AA 228. So I hope you guys all get together and talk about your mutual love of artificial intelligence tonight, okay? We also have our honors cooperative program. So we have students that are working part-time towards their master's degree program, and many of them watch the videos remotely. So they do their part-time master's degree remotely. So we do have some master's degree that you can complete completely online, which is really exciting. Some of them, there is required to come on residence and come to Stanford and take it on campus, but definitely an awesome program as well. And so those are also part of the program here. So how do you get started? How do you watch those lecture videos? For many of you who are new, it's really important to become familiar with our SCPD website, because right there at the top where it says My Stanford Connection is where you're going to log in and watch videos and do other things. So course videos, once you log in, you'll see the online videos for your course, and for here it says MS&E 207. It'll also show you how long you're able to watch your videos. Videos, I think someone mentioned, are posted within 2 hours of the completion of the class on campus. You can also see on the right-hand side, you can check out your applications, your transcripts, you can identify your exam monitor there. So this is just a great resource for you. And if you have any questions on how our online videos work, we also have a great Tech Center FAQ place for you to check out. So some of our video features, the video interface is HTML5 compliant. The lecture videos are archived, so the most recent ones will show up first, and then they'll be archived throughout. So what's great is if you're like, I need to go back to week 7 and review, it's all there for you throughout the quarter. Oh, I'm sorry, let me go back and tell you one more thing. They can also be viewed online or downloaded for offline viewing. So say you commute by train, you don't have Wi-Fi, you can download them and watch them. So I've had many commuters talk to me about how that's been really, really helpful to them. All right, let's talk about speed and resolution. So sometimes you love to watch them at 1.5 speed. And if so, there's a way to do that here. Or maybe someone talks very fast. I tend to talk a little fast. So you're like, wait, they're just going way too fast for me. I need to slow them down. You can also adjust resolution here. So some good features of the video player. Also, and what I really love is that you can bookmark and you can clip these videos. So you can say, if someone says, this is going to be on the midterm, you're like, oh, hello, okay, that's interesting. I should probably bookmark that and go back and check that out again, right? Or you can clip something and go back and watch that later. So that's another really nice thing about these videos and a nice thing about being a remote student. Okay, technical support. So sometimes we have a lot of courses this quarter. Sometimes something may not be posted or something may not be working correctly. If so, you can reach out to our tech support team. They're really quick to reply. They are not 24/7, however. They are 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. So if you reach out to them over the weekend, they'll get back to you quickly on Monday. So I just want to give you that caveat, that expectation for them. But they also have a great, as I mentioned before, a great FAQ section. So your SUNET account, this is so important, so make sure you listen up. Your SUNET account is your Stanford student account. Not the same as the SCPD My Stanford Connection that I mentioned before. So this account allows you to manage your student account via Access. Many times, your SUNET allows you access to course website if it's on a Stanford system. So for example, many of our courses use a Canvas website, and in order to get to the Canvas website, sometimes you have to authenticate with your SUNET. Usually they just pull people out of Access into Canvas, but if they don't, you're going to need that SUNET to authenticate. You can also communicate with teaching team via webmail, so the SUNET also allows you to have a Stanford email address, which is really nice. It's needed to complete the course evaluation and also to access your course grades. So if you haven't set up your SUNET yet, you should set it up. If you have questions or you don't know how to set up your SUNET ID, definitely reach out to our Student Client Services team. They can point you in the right direction for that. But definitely make sure to set up your SUNET. If I find anything that slows students down is they're like, I can't access my course website, and then we find out they haven't set up their SUNET, and it just takes like a day to kind of re-up and get it going. So make sure you get that set up. Course websites. So super important. It could be a Stanford hosted site like Canvas, or an alternative site. Like many of our computer science courses, you can even just Google the course and you'll see their website pop right up. URL is usually announced in the first lecture, so if you haven't been able to find it yet, make sure to watch that first lecture and usually they'll say where it's located. It's updated and maintained by your professors and TAs, so they're the ones that control it, not SCPD. And things you can find are things like syllabus, course outline, grading basis, course deadlines, who the teaching assistants are, and how to access office hour. office hours. So you can see I put Canvas, sometimes it's on NovoEd, and then you can see CS221, they have their own website. Most of the computer science ones do. And then other online tools. So a course may use other online tools in order to support the remote students. So the one that I love the most is Zoom. It's actually free to anyone who has a SUNET ID. So not only does the faculty and teaching team can use it, you can also use it, say, to meet with other people in your course that are remote. It's a meeting hosting. So it's really great because you can share your screen. It can hold up to like 500 people. So hopefully you won't need 500 people on your meeting. But what I love is that Stanford already has an account with Zoom. You can also use Google Hangouts. That's really popular. Skype works. Piazza is an online forum. So many courses like to use Piazza as a place where students can go to ask questions and get answers or to talk with other students. So Piazza is a great place, and if your course has Piazza, make sure you have access to that. Gradescope is another online resource for grading. So they may have exams or other quizzes up there where they show you rubrics and grade online, which is really nice. And then some even use Twitter. All right, now I'm going to hand it over to John, who's going to come up and talk more about our processes.
Thank you, Stephanie. Good evening, everybody. It's my privilege to talk to you for a few minutes this evening. This is actually my favorite time of year. I get to meet you guys, which is a wonderful thing. And it's my 10th orientation. It feels like my first, I tell you. It's always a wonderful time of year. Okay, so I'm just going to run through a few processes with you, a few things you should know, kind of few things of do's and don'ts, bit of housekeeping, that kind of thing. Lots of useful information to kind of set you on your way with the academic quarter just starting next Monday. Okay, so the first section is to talk about handbooks. If you haven't familiarized yourself with any of the student handbooks, please do so. It's in the program section of the SCPD website. It's really important that you do so because it allows you to understand kind of the policies that surround you as a student. Please, please promise me you'll read it. If you haven't, read it before you start your study. It's very important. Lots of useful information in there around things like if I need to take an incomplete, how to change my grading basis, lots and lots of different policies. Please read it. Please be aware of it. And then if you've got any questions about the handbooks in particular, you can ask myself and my team. There's one handbook for non-degree option students, okay, and there's a handbook for the Honors Corp students. They are quite different, okay, so whatever student you are, please take a read of that and familiarize yourself with it. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk to you about is homework. Okay, as the quarter will start, as Paul Marcus said earlier on, the 10 weeks goes very, very quickly. Some of you may even have homework in week 1 or week 2. Time flies by each quarter. So familiarize yourself with the homework process. I'll talk you through it really quickly. So on your first day of class, okay, the course teaching team should provide you some information on how they would prefer you to handle and submit your homework. If the course teaching team wants you to do that directly through their course portal, through something like Gradescope or Canvas or whatever, please do that. You do not need to submit it to SCPD if they want to handle it directly. Just follow their instructions. You don't need to repeat that work and submit it twice. So if the course teaching team wants you to submit your homework via Gradescope, Canvas, or some other method, please do so. If they don't, and they say, well, we'd rather SCPD handle the homework for us, okay, they'll let you know, then you can submit it to the distribution team via the email address, which I've featured up there. It's scpd-distribution@list.stanford.edu. It's also on the website. If you do need to submit your homework via SCPD, we will take that from you in an electronic format. We will submit it to the course teaching team on your behalf, okay? They will grade it and they will return it back to SCPD. We will then give it back to you. Okay, a lot of course teaching teams have a lot of students and they can't handle every single piece of homework, so we will sometimes do that for them, okay? So once again, familiarize yourself with the homework process. It is on the website, okay? But that's pretty much the nuts and bolts of it. Exams. Again, 10-week quarter, things go quickly. Exams and the midterms are just around the corner. Sometimes week 3, week 4, they come quickly. So how would you handle your exams? First and foremost, rule number 1, please, 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 please submit or designate an exam monitor. Even if you are coming to campus for your exam in person, please designate an exam monitor. Why? You're busy working professionals. You have all the intent to come to campus to do your exam. Something happens, something gets in the way, and then you're on the back foot. Okay? If you're coming to campus, please submit an exam monitor. It's there in case you don't make it. We can then work with that exam monitor to make sure that you get your exam to you and it's invigilated correctly. Okay? If you are remote, you must do it anyway. If you are remote and you don't designate an exam monitor, we will not send the exam out. That is a promise, okay? We're not allowed to. So designate an exam monitor. I'll talk about what types of exam monitors you can use in a minute, but just talk you through the process. Once you've set up an exam monitor and it's approved and you're ready to go, the course teaching team will email SCPD the exam. That's typically 1 or 2 days before the actual exam. Don't ask us a week away from the exam, have you got the exam yet? Typically we haven't. So if you want to kind of know when the exam is going to be sent to us, ask the course teaching team or ask us. But typically 1 to 2 days before the physical exam, we will receive it, okay? We don't receive it really, really early, but 1 or 2 days before is about the right time scale. So what happens then? We will send that out to your designated exam monitor, okay, in advance of your physical exam. They will ensure that it's handed to you, that you follow the exam rules and regulations. They will then take a copy of the exam and return it back to SCPD. We in turn then will send it to the course teaching team for grading. Okay, once it's graded, they'll return it to us and we'll send it back to you. It's like a white glove service. We'll make sure that that happens, okay? If there's any variation on the exam process, the course teaching team will tell you, but that is typically it. By the way, just for autumn quarter, you should designate your exam monitor by Monday, October the 9th. If you have any difficulty with that, once again, reach out to us, let us know. So I talked a few minutes ago about exam monitors. Who can you select as an exam monitor? Well, there's the list of who you can select and who you shouldn't select. So typically it can be somebody like your supervisor, your manager. It can be a HR representative at your company. It can be an education coordinator at your company. If you can't use somebody within your company, which I know happens quite often, you can reach out to somebody at a local school or college, a library, maybe a tutor club, or one of the official proctoring services like ProctorU, ProctorFree. There's quite a few of those out there. Those are typical ones that we do accept. What we cannot accept is somebody like a peer or a direct report, a family or friend. You wouldn't believe how many times people will pick a family member or a friend. We can't do that. We have to make sure that the exam is invigilated correctly. It protects you, okay? So please make sure that you designate an exam monitor typically from the list above. Again, if you're having difficulty, you're not sure, always reach out to us and ask that question first, okay? And make sure you get ahead of your exam. Don't scramble and nominate an exam monitor the day before, okay? Please give yourself enough time to be settled and ready for the exam. Okay, so the next section I'm going to talk about is your rights and responsibilities as a student. We're going to run through a few things like academic calendar deadlines. We're going to talk about course evaluations, the honor code, which is very important, your rights and privacies through the FERPA Act, and some common student challenges. The last section is typical things that a student will come across that you may encounter. So the first thing I think Paul Marcus said at the top of the conversation, please, please, please be aware of the academic deadlines. It's so important. We don't want you to miss important dates like exams or when you could change your grading basis by or drop a course. Please familiarize yourself with that. Easiest thing in the world to do, go to the SCPD website and look at the calendar section. It's all in there, okay? If you want to get more detail than that, you can go onto the Stanford website and just look up academic deadlines for academic year 17-18. Okay, we will kind of send out, quarterly announcements and be aware when things are happening or coming up soon. But please, that's the most important thing is that you do your own housekeeping and look at the calendar. Typically, you can see that's a snapshot. You can see things that are coming up. So some important deadlines that you should be aware of. These are the majority of them, but there are others. But these are a few things you want to be aware of. Of course, instruction starts next week. Please be aware. If you didn't know, it starts Monday. Your class may not be Monday, but it starts next week if you didn't know. First important deadline is the financial drop deadline. Okay, you have 3 weeks within which to start your course, see how things are going. If everything's going according to plan, big thumbs up, carry on. If things aren't working out so well, you have 3 weeks to back out of the course, okay? So be aware of that. So for autumn, it's the 13th of October, typically the end of the 3rd week of instruction. Grading basis, what is that? When you enroll in a course at Stanford, it's typically for graduate credit. It's a letter grade course. If you want to change that, you can in most cases. Not all cases, ask us before you do so. What that allows you to do is if you want to change your grading basis from a letter grade to a pass-fail or credit, no credit, you can. That is your option. You have the right to do that. Okay? But please ask us first. And the deadline for that is the 17th of November. We also have the same date, the withdrawal deadline. Now, withdrawing is different from dropping. Withdrawal is where you committed to the course, but you're not quite sure if things are going right, and you'd rather withdraw out, okay? Not get a poor grade or a sufficient grade for what you need, and allows you to then come back at a future date and repeat the course for another grade. We don't want you to have a bad grade. That's not what we're here to do, is to help you succeed. But if you do need to back out of the course, you can withdraw, and then at a future date, repeat the course. And of course, as I just mentioned a few minutes ago, please be aware of assignment and exam deadlines. The course teaching team will give you that information. They're your first port of call in terms of exam dates and homework dates and deadlines. Right? Very important. And as I've got at the bottom, travel or workload is not an exception. I know you're busy working professionals. I was in your seat, a few years ago. Please be aware that these deadlines typically can't be moved. If there's something going on, if there's travel coming up or there's a busy work period, let us know. Let us advocate for you. Let us work with the faculty, okay? But in most cases, you have to adhere to the rules. You're Stanford students, just like full-time students, okay? You have to make sure that you meet your deadlines. One of the things I cannot understate is course evaluations. These are so important. The first course evaluation that you'll receive is around about the midterm week 4, week 5 period, okay? That is from SCPD. That's a, how's it going? Is everything okay? Can you let us know how your course is proceeding? It allows you to kind of comment on anything, really, from, homework and exams through to the professor, through to the material, whatever you like. Please feel free to feedback. As Paul Marcus said at the top of the conversation, this is a gift to us. If we can help improve things or make things a little bit better for you, let us know. Not just a week 4 or 5, from week 1, okay? Please let my team know if we can help in any way. The second most important evaluation for me is the end of quarter evaluation, okay? You will get a notification through your Access account. If you haven't familiarized yourself with Access yet, please do so. You will. I'll talk about that in a minute. You will get an end of quarter evaluation before instruction finishes. It's really important because it feeds back to the individual course teaching team what you thought about the course. But also it allows you to receive your final grade early, okay? If you fill out the course evaluation before the end of instruction, you get your grade 2 weeks early. We get a lot of students saying, hey, I should expect my grade within the next week or so. If you haven't filled out the evaluation, it should be 2 to 3 weeks after your final exams. But a lot of students don't fill out the evaluation and they're kind of wondering why they haven't got their grade. This allows you to get your grade early, okay? It's a privilege. If you don't do it, then you receive it at the regular time, about 2 to 3 weeks after final exams wrap up. So please make sure you're aware of that, okay? And it helps you get your grade early, as I've just mentioned. If you want more information about that, you can go to the link on the Stanford website there, okay? Stanford Honor Code. Even though you are working professionals taking courses at a distance, okay, you are bound by the Stanford Honor Code. All Stanford students are. The Honor Code was developed by students to maintain the integrity of not just the Stanford degree program, but its courses as well, okay? You must abide by the Honor Code. Most important thing within the Honor Code, and we're going to hand out leaflets tonight and information about the Honor Code, but most important thing is please complete your own work. There's so many students that borrow something or just collaborate a little bit. Please don't do that. The course teaching team will guide you. Most important thing is that you do complete your own work, okay? And the university does have something called Office of Community Standards. If a faculty sees that there's something that's not quite right, maybe some plagiarism, I don't know, something like that, then it will be reported to the Office of Community Standards, and you as a student then will need to represent what's happened, okay? But please, I know you're all wonderful students. We want you to do your own work, and the Honor Code is just something that you can refer to. So I talked a few minutes ago about your rights and privacy as a student. Just so you know, the university is bound by the FERPA Act, which is the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. So SCPD can only release student information without consent to the faculty or university staff, okay? Your data is protected. We're not going to share that with any body, any third party, or anybody nefarious. So the only thing that we can do with your information, typically enrollment information, is to provide it to your faculty, your course teaching teams, or university staff that need to know, okay? We cannot make public or release your information to third parties. We are bound by this act, okay, without your consent. So for example, if you complete Stanford courses, do really well, and you go on to another employer and they reach out to us and say, hey, can you verify whether this student completed these courses or not? We would have to have your written consent first, so your data is protected. If you are a student where your company is paying or footing your tuition bill, then we, again, in the same way, we would need your consent to release any information to that company, including your tuition bill. You know, you may be on your second or third course. The company could reach out and say, could you tell us how the student's doing? Or, you know, what's been the tuition, you know, bill to date? We can't provide that information without your consent. So please be assured that the information you provide us, no matter what it is protected, okay? And it's not shared with anybody without your consent. So I talked a few minutes ago about common student challenges. This is a quick run through of some things that we've seen students struggle with in the past. We want you to be aware of these and we want you to pay attention to them as well. First thing, and I think Stephanie ran through some of these, is learning the Stanford systems, okay? Some of the things that Stephanie mentioned earlier on that are really important. First and foremost, if you haven't done so yet, set up your SUNET account, okay? You should have received some information about how to set it up. If you're not sure, see the team at the desk at the front. They will help you with that, okay? Set up your SUNET. Once you've got your SUNET system, your SUNET account set up, you will be able to access a Stanford University website called Access with an X, okay? That will allow you to do things like put your contact information in, update it. Most importantly, see your course grades. That is an important system. It allows you to manage, you know, what students can see about you. You can share information, etc. But Access is a very important portal for you to familiarize yourself. Okay, so SUNET account, Access system. The third thing is webmail. Typically, the course teaching team will send out course announcements, etc. via your Stanford email. Once you've set up your SUNET account, you will get your Stanford email. That is something you need to familiarize yourself with as well. Okay, so your SUNET, Access, and your Stanford webmail, okay? Next important thing, again, is accessing class resources. So once you start your course, typically in the first class that you'll be part of, the course teaching team should kind of provide information about what class resources you should familiarize yourself. Typically the class or course website, typically something like a forum like Piazza, you might hear about that. Familiarize yourself with that, and anything like the Canvas or Gradescope sites. Okay, so please, if you're given that information by your course teaching team, not SCBD, please familiarize yourself with it and use it. It's very important, and it's a good way of interacting with the course teaching team and the rest of the class. Creating teams and study groups. You may come across a situation where you're part of a course, and the faculty will say, "Okay, I want you to form yourselves into groups of 4 and tackle this assignment." You might say, why? I don't know anybody. I mean, I'm the only person that I know within this group. If you struggle with that, reach out in the first case to the course teaching team and typically the head TA and say, look, I'm a remote student. I'm really not sure how this works. I don't know anybody. They will help you form teams, okay? And if you're finding that a little bit of a struggle, again, reach out to our team and we will help facilitate that, okay? So be aware that that may happen. So get to know your fellow students, okay? So that's the most important thing. I'm not saying everybody will, but if that comes up. Oops, went the wrong way. Time zone differences. For those of you that are viewing remotely from a different country rather than the US, please be aware of time zone differences, okay? Whenever you see published deadlines, that is Pacific Standard Time, not your local time. So be aware of that. If you are overseas, please be aware of those time zone differences. And your first question might be, well, hang on, if there's an exam at 2 p.m. on a Friday, do I need to take it at the same time overseas? The answer is no. You will work with your course teaching team on a suitable time for you to take your exam, okay? But typically the homeworks are the same deadline. So remember, Pacific Standard Time for all submissions. So please be aware of your time zone difference. Getting help. Who do you turn to for help? So if it's anything to do with your course, the first people you should reach out to is your TA, your course teaching team. And if it's something that they can't help with, please reach out to my team or the SCPD team. We'd rather you ask the question than struggle and think, I don't know what to do, I'm not sure who to get help to. Just reach out to us or the course teaching team, okay? As Paul Marcus said, we can't do your homework, can't do your course for you. But anything else that you're not familiar with, please ask that question. Do not be afraid, we will help you or point you in the right direction. Okay, so we're up with Sergey.
So, one of those, we mentioned those surveys and the feedback that we're asking you to give us. One of the common themes coming from prior year surveys was this need of this community to come together more often. And towards it, we're embarking this year on a community project where we're going to start scheduling activities and activities that will bring you here to campus or to somewhere cool in Palo Alto, or perhaps even at your workplace with a group of your colleagues who are also taking classes here. So in your folder, there are lots of interesting papers. One of them is the We Want You brochure. If you'd like to help us, if you'd like to partner with us in doing this, certainly please fill your information and leave it with one of us, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. The first event is already on the calendar. It's going to happen on October 11th, Wednesday, at the Old Pro in downtown Palo Alto. So we hope to see you there. Hopefully the time is convenient. An invite will follow sometime soon, but it's as soon as you activate your accounts, right? And we are going to schedule these every quarter. This will culminate in a larger event that will happen towards the after the spring term is over. So be on the lookout for these events coming. We really hope that you will partner with us. We have partnered with companies in the past, and we have done everything from events, information sessions. We've built custom certificate programs based on your company's specific needs and learning priorities and learning agendas. So there's an opportunity for you here to not just gain education for yourself, but also help your colleagues and your company in really becoming more of a learning organization, and most organizations are striving to be that. So please contact us and please join us in these events. Corporate partnerships, we already covered that. Please share with us the information, and we can connect with your HR or learning and development team to facilitate additional work. Questions. So how do we facilitate the questions? This is a pretty interesting system that we have, right?
I know, first time using Poll Everywhere. So I'm going to have all three of us come up. Hopefully our mics are up too. So first I want to reiterate for you to head on over to our Poll Everything poll. And submit your questions and make sure to upvote questions that you're liking. We've already had a ton of questions, which is just wonderful. So I'm going to curate them and bring to the surface some of the upvoted questions first. So the first question, great question. So for classes that allow students to work in pairs or teams, how will SCPD students be introduced to each other to build community and form groups? And I'm happy to take that one on if you guys are okay with that. So one of the ways in which we help you guys to get acquainted with other students in your class and form study groups, perhaps form teams, is Cecilia and I will be sending out to all the students in the courses a Google form asking you to share your contact information with other people in your course that are SCPD students. So you have to keep an eye out for that. We'll be sending that out next week. We'll give people about a week to fill that out, and then we will gather up all the people who have consented to share their information and send out a list to you guys of those students. There may be other ways that the teaching teams decide to help you form groups, could be on their course website or other ways to form groups, but that's definitely feedback that we've gotten in the past, that you want to be connected with each other. Hopefully tonight you also meet each other and talk with each other, get information from each other. If you obviously are here local, and so great study groups could be formed tonight. But if you have any other feedback for us on how to better facilitate that together, then let us know. But you also have an opportunity to opt out. So you can say to us, no, I really don't want to share my contact information. We do have a couple of those. So keep an eye out for that Google form that's coming next week from either myself or Cecilia back there. She'll wave her hand too. Yes, that's Cecilia back there. Okay, so the next question, a good question that we've heard a lot, is there a way for SCPD students to watch class lectures live? I'm happy to take that. Okay, so it's a wonderful question, and it's feedback that we've gotten from many students. We know that you want live interaction. It is not quite there yet. However, with joining with VPTL and all of those great resources that they have at their disposal, including instructional design and technology, we are looking into whether we can make live interaction an ability. It's just we have a lot of classes. We have to figure out how to scale that. But we've heard that feedback. We know that you guys want live interaction, and we're going to work towards that in the future.
Right, we're definitely planning on piloting a new system this year in some classes, not all classes, but hopefully those of you who enjoy this experience and sign up and enroll in more classes will get a chance to hopefully experience this new technology in a near quarter.
Yes, great question. So another question is, can I come to campus to attend in-person office hours review sessions, or am I expected to solely attend the virtual ones? So another great question. And if you are local and you want to come on campus to office hours, it's usually fine. What I recommend is before you come on campus to do anything, just touch base with TAs or the teaching team and make sure that's okay. So they will also be conducting remote office hours. They should. But if you do prefer to come on campus, you should be able to. I would just check in with them first and make sure that it's okay. Does that make sense? Okay. Great, you guys I've seen lots of upvoting here. So a really interesting question, not sure if we can answer this tonight, but I think it's really good for us to hear this, is can you share some statistics on graduation and conversion rates? How many NDOs go on to pursue certificates or master's degrees, and how many succeed?
That's actually a good question. I can tell it about 10% of individuals who are, so if we look at a certificate program and the number of students in a certificate program, every year about 10% of students complete their certificate. When we look at graduate degrees coming out of Stanford, the SCPD part-time master's students are about 5% of all master's graduates out of the university. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yes, and also last year we had over 1,100 people add certificates. So there's a lot of interest in our certificates, especially artificial intelligence, management science and engineering. Our data mining and application certificate is really popular, but we have over 30 certificates, and there's a lot of interest, a lot of people who are taking on courses and adding the certificates that they're interested in pursuing and finishing those certificates. Okay, let me move on. Let me see what has been upvoted here. Do NDO students have access to the same resources as other Stanford students?
No. As a non-degree option student, you are studying at a distance. You don't have access to all campus facilities as a residential student would. You do have access to things like the course information sessions, the library, etc. But residential students are need to access parts of the campus that you wouldn't as a remote student. So you do have similar privileges, but not the same privileges. So, for example, you can't access the dormitories, the pool, the gym, etc. Like I say, just the library and the course information sessions, the labs. That's about it, really.
So a very popular question here is, how can SCPD students ask questions and interact with the professor and the rest of the students? So again, we don't have live interaction, but Piazza is a great online forum. You can reach out to TAs and faculty directly. They may identify a specific TA that is taking care of SCPD students. And so you should hear from the teaching team, or it should be apparent how you can reach out and ask questions. We do make we're gonna have our TA orientation tomorrow actually, and we do make it clear, like, as a remote student, how frustrating it must feel to be stuck on something, right? And you're remote, and you're emailed someone and you haven't heard back from them and you feel stuck, right? So we let them know that remote students have a unique challenge, that sometimes they can't walk into office hours and get a a question answered right away. So they know that you need answers. And the other thing I would say, that when you come from industry, you may be used to emails flying back really, really fast, getting answers really quickly. Academia is a little bit slower. It's a little bit different. So I just ask that you be patient with the teaching team. Know that they have a lot of students, and that you may be working with a TA that's not used to that quick response. And so you have to be patient with them as well. So I know we're working on them to be as quick as to respond as possible, but also you have to respect the boundaries and let them have a moment also to respond. And they may give you sort of some boundaries where I can respond in this period of this quickly. So that's sometimes been a little point of contention, but we're doing our best to let them know that you really need those answers as quickly as possible.
I will mention that if you get to a point where the conversation feels stressed, right? Don't start an email argument. It doesn't work in corporate life. Doesn't work in this instance either. That's why we're here, right? So you have our contact information. We work for you, right? So please use us. Please reach out to us. We will do everything we can to make sure that what you need happens.
Yeah. As Segev said, we do get situations where you'll get frustrated or irritated or whatever. It's probably best to reach out to us more times than not, because we can actually work with the faculty and get results a little bit quicker maybe, so in some cases, and can advocate for you, as I said at the top of my conversation. We would rather do that than things get a little out of hand.
Yep. Okay, one large upvoted question is, what's the typical ratio of SCPD to full-time grad students in a class? How many SCPD students in the AI program right now?
There are a couple of very large classes this term. The two largest classes that we're managing are CS221 and CS229. These classes have about 800 to 900 students enrolled in each class. The room does not contain more than 300 students. We have almost 200 so the ratio, 200 out of 900, right? For one, and 100 out of 900 for the other. Lots of students.
Large TA pool.
Large TA pool, large pool of students. So please keep that in mind if you're in those two classes. We especially want to help you if those conversations get stuck, or if you feel like things aren't working as they should.
Although your students may be in the minority in some cases, my experience is that you bring a fantastic dynamic to the class, even though you're in lower numbers, and it makes for a really great blended learning experience, because you're working professionals, you have a lot of knowledge, a lot of skills, a lot of experience. So it makes for a good blend for the class. So for people that are, never studied this particular topic before, to you that might be doing this work every day, it's a great blend. So.
Okay, another question is specific to exam monitors. So what are the responsibilities of an exam monitor? What kind of time commitment should I make my exam monitor aware of? Okay,
so the exam monitor's responsibilities are as follows. Firstly, to make sure that they are aware that your exam monitor, the date of the exam monitor when it's happening. They should be available to receive it via email. They should have the ability to print it if required, to make sure that you are aware of the rules and regulations, because we communicate that to them, and that the exam is invigilated, so that if there's something like a laptop's not allowed to be in the room, that occurs. If you're allowed to take in one sheet of A4 with notes on, that does happen. And then once you've completed the exam in the allowed time, they must make sure that happens, is to return it for grading. That's about the limit of their responsibilities. I think the most important thing that you can do is make sure that they know when it's happening, how long it is, okay? They get a little bit more specific information you do around, like I say, rules and regulations, but that's kind of about it. So somebody that can facilitate and help you is probably the best way to summarize it.
Okay, so I'm doing a time check. We're at 7:28. I'm going to take one last question. You guys have submitted so many amazing questions. I hope you come out and ask us all of these questions that you have, or ask the Student Client Services team after this. So our last question is, can you describe the attitude full-time Stanford students have towards SCPD students? Is SCPD held in the same esteem on campus as full-time degree seekers? What are the differences? Who wants to speak to this? This is a tough one.
I think we can take a little each.
Yes.
In my opinion, as I've just mentioned a few minutes ago, you're regarded as working professionals. You have a lot of knowledge, a lot of skills, a lot of experience. So you might find that the full-time residential students who aren't so familiar with the topic or it's new to them will probably try and tap into your resource and your knowledge, if you like. They certainly don't look down at their nose on any students. You're all in it together. You're a blended group learning together, which makes a great experience. And I don't think that there's any kind of rights or privileges above what you have. You are considered a Stanford student studying graduate courses. You are no different in that respect. You're doing the same work, the same assessments. You're getting the same grade. You're getting the same transcripts. So there's no kind of there's a level playing field there. There's no kind of unfair play. So
Right.
in my experience, it's always a positive one.
And I will just say on the teaching team side, what we really drive home is, as John said, these students are the same as any other student that's on campus in your class, and you need to treat them exactly the same. That means that you need to give them the same attention as you would an on-campus student, but they also need to be tough on you. Like if you say, I'm sorry, I have a work trip and I can't come, that's not gonna cut it. You're the same as any other student here. And it's really our goal to advocate for you. And so one of the challenges is that you're not always in the classroom. And so sometimes they have to go a little bit of an extra mile, do a remote office hour, or answer a question more in detail because you weren't in class to ask that question. And so we are challenging the teaching teams to think outside the box, to make sure that they are covering your needs as well. And if they aren't, that's what we're here for, to help advocate for you. So that's why we want to get to know you. We want to meet you. We want you to reach out to us. We don't want to hear at the end of the quarter that you've had just a really tough experience and that we didn't know about it. So make sure to reach out to us and help us advocate for you if needed.
Yeah, and I would add that the ratio of SCPD students to residential students is different, and you may well encounter a situation where people never heard of SCPD, not the teaching team, but maybe other students, right? So that can happen also. Don't be a wallflower and everything will be fine.
Great, okay. So I want to wrap up and get us all out to this networking hour. I do want to say that I did invite a few people from the departments here. Hopefully they're here. It's been a busy week. Some people haven't even arrived on campus yet. They'll have an orange sticker on their badge if they are here. But we really want to meet every one of you before you leave. Make sure you talk to other people in your course while you're here. Talk to us, introduce yourselves. We're very friendly, I promise. And thank you guys again for being here. We're just so honored to meet you tonight. And we're hoping you have a wonderful quarter.
Thank you.
Thank you.